Well, hey there guys, Megan Carnes here with the Collar Scholar Dog Training, and today we're going to be talking about one of my all-time favorite pieces of training equipment. This is something that I'll never walk into a training session without. So what is it that I love so much? Well, you guys, it is my long line. In fact, I'd say 90% of the time when I bring a dog out for training, they're wearing a long line, even if we're training on my property, which is fully fenced. You guys, having a long line is crucial for really setting your dog up for success in your training sessions. If they're wearing a long line, you have a way to effectively manage their behavior. You can prevent them from completely ditching you and finding something better to do. You can reinforce things like your recall, and you can keep your dog out of trouble. And listen, when I bring dogs out for training, 90% of the time, we never even need the long line. But for that 10% of the time when we do, having it on my dog is life-saving. But the thing about it is, a lot of people don't want to use long lines because they're big, they're bulky, and they're cumbersome. And it can be easy to kind of get caught up in them, get them tangled around you, get them tangled around your dog. And in fact, if you're not careful, a long line can be a little bit dangerous because it can absolutely kind of get tangled around your feet and take you out. Ask me how I know. So listen, you guys, what I thought we'd talk about today is how to be effective with your long line so that you can start using it in your training sessions in order to better manage your dog. Now, my all-time favorite long line is made of biothane. I love the biothane leashes because they don't get tangled. And as you're about to see, I have a big tendency of kind of tossing my long line all over the place. The last thing that I want to do at the end of a training session is spend 15-20 minutes untying all of the knots because my long line got all tangled up. So I tend to opt for biothane leashes because they're ultra sturdy and they don't get tangled. Now, the only problem with the biothane leashes is that they are definitely slippery when wet, and I live in the Pacific Northwest where it kind of rains a lot. And so on rainy days, I'll use what's called a gripper leash. And the gripper leash, it's got a little bit more traction, so it won't slide through my hands. But most of the time, I'm relying on my biothane leash. Now, the first thing that you want to know about working with a long line is that just because you have 30 feet or however long your line is, it doesn't mean that you need to give your dog all 30 feet. In fact, it should be your goal to use your line to maintain a constant connection with your dog. So what does this mean? Well, it means that I don't want to be pulling on my dog. I don't want there to be tension in my leash, but I want to maintain the ability to make contact with him at any time. So what I'll do is I kind of use my left hand to manage the slack in the leash. I'll hold my hand like this and kind of drape the line across. And I won't grip it too hard. So what I tell everybody is when you're holding a long line, you want to hold it like you'd hold a baby bird. So not so tight that you're going to crush it, but also not so loose that it's going to fly away from you. So here, what I'll do is I use my left hand to kind of pick up the slack, and I kind of let the leash kind of lay across that hand here. And I want the ability to be able to make contact with my dog, but I don't want tension. So if I'm standing here and if I'm working with my dog and if he's kind of moving around, I'm going to hold my leash wherever I need to hold it in order to maintain the ability to have a connection with him. But what the heck am I going to do with the rest of this line? Well, you guys, the rest of this line does not matter. So what you're going to do with it is just throw it away. And when you throw your line away, you want to throw it kind of off to the side. So you want to make sure that the rest of that line, it never tucks back behind you, because if it does and your dog takes off, that's the fastest way for the line to take you out. So you want to manage that slack away from you, toss that slack away from you, off to the side and out of the way. And then you want to manage the part that creates the connection with the dog. So if I want to move away from my dog, rest. If I'm going to move away from my dog, notice I'm just letting it slide through my hand. If I want to move towards my dog, what I'm going to do is pull the slack through my hand and throw it away. Pull the slack and throw it away. pull the slack and throw it away so that I can maintain that constant connection with my dog. So again, if I move away, let it slide through my hand. If I move close, pull and throw, pull and throw. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Shank out and I'm going to run him through a super simple exercise. And I'm going to show you how to manage this line as the dog is actually moving. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send him out to that platform and call him back to me. I'm not worried about the training exercise here. I just want to show you how we manage our line. And here, my goal is to always maintain a connection to my dog. So check this out, you guys. Go. Good. So all I did was allow the leash to slide through my hand. And here I'm using my left hand to manage the slack so that there isn't any, so that it's not dangling on the ground, so that I maintain that connection with my dog, but I'm not pulling on my dog. Now I'm going to call my dog back to me. And when I do that, I'm just going to manage my line and throw the excess away. Yes. Good. And notice here, I have about 3 feet of line. That's it. I've got a connection to my dog. All I did was reel in that line and toss the excess away. So let's see that one more time. Go. So he goes out. I use my left hand to manage the line and I call him back. And listen, if your dog is kind of fast and you can't reel fast enough, you can move back and away from your dog as you reel them in order to buy yourself a little bit of extra time. So check this out. Yes. So I can move away, reel in my dog, and then reward them. So you guys, the idea is when working with a long line that you maintain a constant connection to your dog. You never want to be in a situation where you have all this line on the ground in between you and the dog, because that's the fastest way to get tangled. I mean, even if he starts to move around, look in a hot second, it's already wrapped around a leg. So we want to make sure that we are in control of the slack at all time. Now, if at any point you find yourself tangled, your dog's starting to get tangled, or you're starting to get tangled, just drop the line. Then you can reach in closer to your dog's collar and pick up and make that connection again. And then you can just walk your dog out of the tangle. So you guys, just to recap, you want to make sure that you're always making a connection with your dog. You want to make sure that you take the excess slack and throw it away. And you want to make sure that that excess slack never gets behind you, because having slack laying on the ground and having slack behind you is the quickest way to an accident with a long line.